Hey guys, how's it going? It's Comic Boom here, and we are going to go through the solicitations for February 2022. And the reason for that is because look, frankly, normally I don't like reading solicitations. I find they generally ruin the story for me. But I figure every now and then I feel compelled to, the temptation gets the best of me, and you hear certain things, and I just, I had to check out what I'm seeing, and I gotta admit, I got some concerns, and so we're gonna be going through these solicitations, and I'm gonna give my commentary on them because I think some of this stuff. I mean, most of you who follow me on this channel know that I collaborate with Jace at the Comic Source, and we review DC comic books every week. We pretty much review most everything that DC has, quite frankly. And so it's not surprising that, I have my own opinion as to what the hell is going on at DC or where the direction or I'd like to see them going. Now, overall, I got to say that I'm actually genuinely happy with what DC has been doing in terms of the overall quality of the stories. The stories aren't that bad. There's been different eras. Now, bear in mind, I've been reading comic books a long time. So, look, I say this with ego, okay? There's nothing modest with what I'm saying. I'm an old guy. I'm 52 years old, okay? So, I've said this before on my channel. I'm reminded by something that Mark Waid told me back in the day in 2006 at a Calgary Comic-Con Expo. He said that every generation deserves to have comic books written for them. And that's in a perfect world, of course, and that's what he meant. And, of course, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way, right? We all want comic books to be written for us, but, especially, look, I'm not an idiot. I know that as I get older, hey, I mean, I can't expect that my version of Cassandra Cain is going to be followed. Now we got Batgirls with her and, spoiler, for God's sakes, her and Stephanie Brown in a Batgirls comic, which I'm not a fan of. But I recognize that, look, comic books, as long as the story is good, I mean, if it's written for a different generation, so be it. Can't all be written for me. And that's just the reality of it. Having said that, what is the direction that DC is going now? Because, coming out of DC death metal, we went into future state, and DC continuity has been pretty wonky. We got Joshua Williamson sort of handling things toward a crisis event in 2022 that flowed from the pages of Infinite Frontier. And we got Justice League Incarnate going to be coming out. And clearly there is a direction where we're moving toward another big event, and undoubtedly involving the totality, the Justice League totality, the multiverse being under the sort of the ultimate evil here appears to be Darkseid, but he's going to be battling other ultimate evils from the Grant Morrison's University, the Gentry, from Eclipso, from the Anti-Monitor, to a slew of others. So the stakes are being raised, and in the first issue of Justice League Incarnate that's going to be coming out, we're going to be introduced to a Dr. Multiverse. But let's see what February 2022 has in store for us, just to get the hint of things. So one of the first things that it appears to be coming out is Batman 120. Now this will be the third issue into Joshua Williamson's Batman run, where he is essentially taking on the Abyss. We got a gorgeous cover here, art and cover by Jose Molina. Good enough cover. Batman always has a good cover. For me, for a Batman comic, you need more than just a good cover. You need a good story. I'm reading this here, and I'm actually more interested in the backup, because the backup is interesting because Batman and maps from Gotham City, Gotham Academy. Carl Keschel is the backup writer for the story, and so seeing the character Maps being brought back by Carl Keschel, and having that expanded upon, that actually intrigues me a little bit. Why? Because I like Gotham Academy. Gotham Academy was a good series. It was an underrated series. In fact, Becky Cloonan, I think, was even part of that series for a while. Bring back Gotham Academy. I think it would be better than Teen Titans Academy. Or let's have some Teen Titans Academy with some overlap between Teen Titans Academy and Gotham Academy. I think that would be pretty good. That's one way to focus on the younger legacy characters of the DC universe without necessarily having the legacy characters focused on in the context of the older generation of heroes. In other words, let the younger heroes develop and earn their place without necessarily having to be completely, totally dominated and affiliated with their larger-than-life, older generation, first-generation counterparts. Anyways, whether or not that will sell or not, I don't know, but I can tell you this. Right now, DC sales, even though it's all anecdotal, the sales for DC, I mean, I'm speculating here, but from different sources, I question how great DC comic book sales are right now, and that upsets me because I love DC and I am enjoying most of the stories. Now, Batman, I'm going to give Batman a shot because it's Joshua Williamson, and I wasn't a fan of his Flash, but he's doing a great job on Robin. He's having a lot of fun with Robin. He's doing a good job. He's still handling, I think, well, the Justice League Incarnate, and I'm looking forward to that. And Infinite Frontier was a good 6-issue series, whetting the appetite for the Crisis in 2022. Most interesting, Detective Comics 1051. This is Marika Tamaki has done a pretty good job here. Now, it's going to come out weekly, Detective Comics, beginning in February. Well, now that's quite interesting. And it's going to involve a psycho pirate. The mind manipulations of one of DC's most calamitous villains are revealed at the heart of Arkham Tower. But who's really calling the shots? And as Batwoman's undercover operation takes a disastrous turn, Huntress finds her own mission inside the tower growing more perilous at the moment. All is revealed in this explosive first chapter in Act 2 of Shadows of the Bat weekly event. And then in House of Gotham Part 5, the boy emerges from his scarecrow caper, blah, 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 another backup. Guys, here's where this might get interesting. If this is a weekly Shadow of the Bat, this might actually be a fairly potentially interesting kind of event, because I'm actually wondering if this is a 12-issue series, it's going to be interesting to see exactly what Marika Tamaki can bring to the table. Because one thing I'll say about Marika Tamaki, and I'll say about even the larger Fear State, I think her storyline was tied down a little bit by Fear State. I think James Tynion Fear State got carried away. It dragged on way too long, unfortunately. But I would say, for me, I liked Fear State at the beginning, but I would say it was about 7 or 8 issues too long. It was just too long. We had fantastic art by Jose Farnez, but Fear State was just too long. DC really has to learn to reel it in. And I really don't like the idea of a weekly event. But if it's the same writer, Marika Tamaki, she's been doing a good job on Detective Comics. I've had some issues with her pacing and with some of her, it's kind of forced storytelling in her scripting, but for the whole Sarah Worth idea and the what she brought to the table and what she put Bruce Wayne through, I thought it was kind of interesting, and she seemed to have fun with the title. And it's actually Marika Tamaki's best work at DC so far is her work on Detective Comics. Because I'm not a huge fan of her young adult fiction for DC, but a lot of people are. So I think she's earned her place, and I'm more than willing to read more of her Batman stories in the pages of Detective. The Lee Bermejo covers here look absolutely fantastic. As usual, that's the surprise of no one. Overpriced on the cardstock. DC made a huge mistake moving to the cardstock and increasing it by $1. That was a mistake. It screws over the fans. That's a mistake. It should have been the same price. We don't need cardstock. Why do we need a cardstock cover? We need cardstock like we need a hole in the head. They're comic books. They don't need to have cardboard covers. Come on. Really? And there's a paper shortage anyway, right? Come on. Just give us a nice, $3.99 cover. I mean, the cardstock $5.99. Come on. Seriously? Anyways, that's just a general vent for DC, for I guess the comic book industry in general. Some of these covers here are really great. I'm not going to go through the whole storyline because I actually don't want to ruin. I don't want to ruin for myself exactly what the storyline is. But the idea of Shadow of the Bat, it's not bad. Now, I Am Batman by John Ridley. It's interesting. I thought John Ridley had sort of stopped writing Batman, but I guess he hasn't. Now, Jace Fox he's an interesting Batman. Now, I Am Batman #6. This says Jace Fox's baptism by fire as Batman during Fear State was the first step toward his next great challenge, relocation to the Big Apple. So, Jace moves to New York City. This is a good idea. He's a redundancy in Gotham City. He needs to make his own. He needs his own city. He's a good enough character with an interesting supporting cast, an interesting family, the Fox family. There's a lot of drama there. There's a lot of potential there for some great stories. Put him in his own city so he can come into his own in his own right. I think that's a good idea. I do find it rather odd that they're, I do think it's unfortunate that they need to keep. Well, I don't want Jace Fox's I don't want Jace Fox as a character to lose any steam because he's considered a redundancy to Batman. I think it's important. I would suggest that the approach to I Am Batman should be that Jace Fox should play a pivotal role in the Batman Incorporated idea. The idea that there are many different types of Batmen or Batwomen or Bat people, Bat persons all over the world that take over the Batman sort of franchise or the Batman legacy in various cities around the globe. And this will give Jace more gravitas and more agency to step up to the plate in New York City. And really, it's the real world New York City. I mean, if you want to put it that way, because everyone thinks of Gotham and Metropolis as the equivalent of New York City in the DC universe. So to actually put him in actual New York City in the DC universe, that's not a bad idea. Again, it's not a big deal. It's all going to come down to the story, and at least it can make sense, because otherwise, get out of Gotham. Let's stop with the confusion already. The new champion of Shazam here. I'm actually looking forward to this. I love Mary Marvel. I've always loved Mary Marvel, and I got to tell you, man, Evan Doc Shaner is the perfect artist for this. Absolutely perfect. I love his art on Adam Strange, and him bringing his A game here to Mary Marvel. I think this is going to be, artistically, this is going to be fantastic. There's a variant cover by Joshua Middleton, which I'm not showing. But in any event, Mary Bromfield, which is her secret identity name, has always struggled to determine who she is outside her family. Now, after Billy Batson's heroic sacrifice, the power of Shazam has vanished and she's been left powerless. Blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read the rest. All we need to know is, is this a redundancy as well? I'm going to suggest that I'm looking forward to this for a number of reasons, and primarily because Mary Marvel is a character that has always deserved more attention, and quite frankly, in the Marvel family, there are multiple characters that could assume the role of Shazam. There's a whole Marvel family. There's there's Freddy, there's Mary, was it Pedro? I mean, there's the whole slew. If you look at the movie, I forget all the names of all of them, but the fact is that it's a family. It's the Marvel family. So the fact that each one of them can step up to the plate while another player is down, so to speak, that's fine. It's a team effort. Plus, I think if ever there was a situation, I always think of Mary as being older than Billy anyway. She seems to be more mature, and she just seems to, frankly, to be more interesting. And, DC has really squandered what they've done with Billy. Tim Sheridan, I haven't been a huge fan of what Tim Sheridan has brought to Teen Titans or to that Shazam miniseries was, I think, leaves much to be desired. It's not been particularly good. But in defense of Tim Sheridan, and maybe this isn't a defense if this was all his idea, but the whole nonsense of Future State did not do Shazam any favors. One of the most confusing stories out of Future State, or actually during Future State, was what happened to Shazam. He became sort of possessed by Neuron, and he essentially, he ended up even killing people possessed, and he actually murdered some heroes. So this was pretty much a destruction of the character of Billy Batson. In fact, let's be blunt. If I didn't know any better, I think this was Tom King pulling a, this was Tom King writing Billy Batson. I mean, this was really Billy Batson was really put through the ringer here, i.e. Shazam was put through the ringer. They were split. Billy Batson was guarding the Rock of Eternity, the entrance to the Rock of Eternity, while Shazam never had the moral compass that Billy Batson provided him, apparently, in the real world, and ultimately became corrupted. The unkindness was leaked. Shazam then took an unconscious raven that had the embodiment of the unkindness into the Rock of Eternity. Ultimately, though, the unkindness escaped when Billy Batson uttered those magic words, Shazam, and the transformation flew open the doors of Rock of Eternity. Anyways, it was a disaster, and it led to the future that was depicted in Future State that destroyed the universe. But Black Adam was sent back in time, where he was de-aged, where he ends up in the Shazam miniseries in issue 4, which completely confuses everybody, frankly, or most people. Nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about it because it's hard to talk about something when none of us really know what we're talking about, right? I mean, what are we talking about, right? What exactly happened? Nobody knows exactly what happened with Shazam, and so really now to hear that by February, Billy Batson will have made a sacrifice and Mary Marvel is the only thing that's left. Well, okay, yeah, that doesn't surprise me, and I just don't care. Show me some Mary Marvel, man. In fact, give her a black outfit. Make her go on the side of Black Adam. I mean, she'd be more interesting. She was there's that great cover of Mary Marvel wearing black, wearing like the Black Adam suit, and holding the head of Guy Gardner in that great Justice League International cover back in the day. Anyways, all right, continuing on. Aquaman #1. DC is clearly trying to build up the legacy of Aquaman. Right now, we got Chuck Brown in the pages of Black Manta creating a lot of seems to be a lot of black slave history linked to ancient Atlantis and linked to the slave colonies. And we have Jackson Hyde being built up in the pages of Aquaman the Becoming, and with his mother having some, and himself along, obviously having some connections with not only Atlantis, but also with Mira's own people. So there's clearly something's being built here. Jackson Hyde's being framed for political machinations against Atlantis. Meanwhile, apparently Aquaman is going to be, retiring, or, choosing to be a father. So this is a passing of the torch. Now, interestingly enough, there are some people that think this is going to be like a rehash of what Marvel did with their Marvel Legacy characters, which might be the case. Who knows? DC is going to probably try to do something here, passing the mantle of the Aquaman mantle over to Jackson Hyde, and do so in a way that won't, obviously they want to generate sales. They want to generate interest. It didn't work so well with Marvel when Marvel tried it in that era of 2016 to 2018. It didn't particularly work out that well for Marvel. But let's be blunt here. Marvel kind of still is doing that. It's the whole legacy thing just never really left Marvel. But I think a lot of readers have left Marvel, and I think the impression I'm getting is that some readers have left DC. I haven't. I've been enjoying Aquaman the Becoming. I think Brandon Thomas is doing a great job. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I think Chuck Brown has some really good ideas in Black Manta. Really good ideas. There's some issues of execution that I have. I think the story's choppy and unnecessarily confusing in parts, but I appreciate that he's trying to he's trying to grow the mythology. So this Aquaman story, that they're building toward, I'm really curious to see exactly how it's going to all play out. And because it involves all the characters from Mira, Tula, Tempest, Atlantis, and Jackson Hyde, and all of the Aquaman. And it's going to be I think it promises to be a good event. I'm definitely going to be checking it out. Now, the Monkey Prince. For the life of me, I don't know. Gene Yuen Lang is a creator that I love him. He did Batman and Superman. He's one of the most creative writers. Like, he always comes up with really fascinating plot points, and he always seems to bring something different to the table. Jean Lun Yang, I want to make sure I say that right. Art and cover by Bernard Chang. There's a variant cover by Stanley Archer Lau. This is, yeah, I gotta admit, when I first saw the Monkey Prince, I thought this was a joke. I really did. I actually thought this was part of a comic book culture war argument, and that this was going to be criticized as being a racist character. But apparently it isn't. I don't know why an Asian character being portrayed like a monkey. I just thought that was a recipe for bad social media press. But apparently, I don't know why. Apparently, it's gotten good press. Good, and so be it. I mean, I'm good. Another character in the DC universe, Monkey Prince. The justification is that, oh, Monkey Prince is an old character from way back. Well, so there's lots of characters from way back that would be canceled in today's culture, but apparently not Monkey Prince. There was an introduction to this character in one of DC's compilations that I can't even remember back, that Jason and I reviewed, and it's okay. It was okay. Not my cup of tea, but I will be checking this out because Jean Lun Yang, sorry about that, Jean. You've earned my respect. You've written great stories that I've enjoyed for DC, and Superman versus the Clan. I read that. That's also quite good. So I'm definitely going to be checking this out, and yeah, we'll see where it goes. Apparently, the Monkey Prince can transform into 72 different formations and can clone himself using his hairs, and is called the Monkey Prince. That's interesting. Okay. All right, I'll check it out. Suicide Squad The Blaze. My God, I'm very much interested in this. I have another Black Label Suicide Squad series. I am loving Brian Azzarello's Suicide Squad Black Label. I don't know why some people aren't. I think it's cinematic in scope. I think it's hilarious. I think it's action-packed. I think it's awesome. I've been absolutely loving it because it's hardcore, it's unapologetic, and frankly, I just really like Brian Azzarello's hardcore stuff. I do have friends in different parts of the comic book community that are not big Brian Azzarello fans. And I've got other friends that don't like the writer himself because of his particular attitude or views or whatever. But I just look at it in terms of the story. Brian Azzarello writes entertaining stories to me, and I enjoy them. When Brian Azzarello, when he wrote his Birds of Prey story and he scripted it, that Black Canary sleeps with 3 guys in a bar. Is that disrespectful? I don't know. I mean, it's an alternate universe story. I mean, so Black Canary likes to have fun. I don't care if he writes provocative scenes that might upset some people's sensibilities. I completely respect that because I bitch and complain about certain scenes too that I don't like. But maybe I'm just old school, and maybe that says something about me. But I like Brian Azzarello. I like his writing. I'm absolutely going to be checking out Blaze. I mean, listen to this. Simon Spurrier I think is a great writer. Aaron Campbell, Jordi Belair is fantastic on colors. The attack begins without warning, brutal, sudden, and cannibalistic. A metahuman with all the power of Superman, but none of his humanity. An unstoppable force being ruled only by hunger and instinct, striking at random across the world. And to stop this threat, Harley Quinn, Peacemaker, Captain, Boomerang, and King Shark have been assigned to corral, nursemaid, and if necessary, execute 5 deadly recruits, the expendable products of a secret government procedure called Blaze. And they've got to stop this. They got to stop this Superman. It almost reminds me that this is almost a play in that video game where the Suicide Squad versus the Justice League. How do you stop a Superman? This is exactly the type of stuff that I love. I think a lot of these comic books, remember that these comics are approved ahead of time. And so because we know they're approved ahead of time, this was probably approved at the time that the Suicide Squad movie, before it was even coming out. And they were probably hoping that the Suicide Squad movie would be more popular than it turned out being. It's a fantastic movie. I love it. And of course, we got the Peacemaker series from HBO Max coming out as well. I'll be checking that out. But this is absolutely a must buy for me. This is a no-brainer. Absolutely looking forward to it. All right, weird love tales. I don't understand why these weird love tales. What an odd choice. I gotta admit, I like the art here. whenever I see Amanda Connor's style, I mean, Amanda Connor is just, I love her art. I love her style. I think she does a great job. So right away, the cover sort of puts a smile on my face because it does look pretty good. But the DCU Rendezvous, yes. Written by Rex Ogle, Rich Dueck, and Colin Kelly, Jackson Lanzig, Graham V, Stephanie Phillips, Devin Grayson, and others. So it's 80 pages long. It's a one shot. So it's $10 US. I'll probably be checking it out. Will I be buying it? I might. Usually I have the opportunity of getting sort of preview copies. So I'll check it out. And sometimes, don't kid yourself. A lot of times these weird love tales, these DC odd one shots that pop up every now and then, they're good for speculation because sometimes you get stories that resonate, and it allows writers to write stories that are off the beaten path, a little bit on the edge. And that's what I'm hoping we get here, to push the envelope with some of these characters so that it's not just maybe funny, crazy stories, but maybe a little bit pushing the envelope a little bit and being a little bit controversial. Why not? Have fun. It's weird love. What the hell's weird love? Define it how you like. So we'll see how that turns out. There's a Batman Volume 5 of Fear State. I'm pretty, I all the power with Fear State. I'm glad Fear State's over. I enjoyed it for the most part. I did. I did think it dragged on a little bit too long, but I'm glad it's over. I like the character of Miracle Molly. I thought there was a lot of interesting new characters added. I actually like Ghostmaker. In fact, I like most of the characters. The only one that I'm not a big fan of is the Gardener, because she wasn't built. She was a redundant character that didn't serve the narrative in any way, shape, or form, and was completely unnecessary. And you could have literally removed the Gardener from the equation, from the narrative itself, and nobody would recognize her being gone. Robin, kudos to Joshua Williamson. He's done a decent job on Robin here. I just can't complain. He's had a lot of fun with Robin. It's been a decent read. It's been fun. It's not a lot of character development, to be blunt, but when you have this much fun with all these characters, especially with Flatline and with Connor Hawk coming back, being a great fighter, and then we've got Ravager and the tournament on the Lazarus Island. It's a lot of fun being had. So really, I think that one of the titles that best encapsulates the spirit, or at least the classical spirit of the DC universe, is Robin by Joshua Williamson. And I would encourage people to pick up this volume. If you haven't picked up the comic set, pick up this volume 1 compilation. It would be well worth it. The Batman's Grave complete collection. This was one written by he who will not be named, Warren Ellis. Art and cover by Brian Hitch. I got to tell you, this series here, I got every one of these issues. The art here is fantastic. One of the complaints that people, some reviewers had on this, and it's not without some degree of merit, is that some of the fight scenes almost take up the entire issue. Brian Hitch really shows off his cinematic, artistic brilliance, and it's a lot of fun, but there is a lot of decompression. And Warren Ellis really clearly works in conjunction with Brian Hitch so that Brian Hitch can show off his art. And it's an interesting, I thought the story was a little bit, it was surprisingly, I thought, a little bit one-dimensional. It started off, it gave hints of what was going to be a complex story, but it ended up being not a particularly complex story at all. It was just ultimately Batman just facing off against one guy at the end. And it was surprising to me, but artistically alone, I think this one might be a series worth checking out. Now, it's written by Warren Ellis. Warren Ellis is you can judge for yourself. I know he's been in the news, and there was that controversy around Warren Ellis and how he's treated past female creators in the past, and potentially jeopardizing and impairing them from moving up in their careers. And so, and he recently had Image drop some of his stuff and not print some of his stuff, like Fell with some of his collaborations with other creators. So, I mean, that's up to you. You guys can decide for yourselves to what extent you want to punish Warren Ellis for that. I leave that to you. Green Lantern Alliance. I've Min Lee. I've never read anything from Min Lee, so I don't know I don't know if this is any good. I would be curious to know, guys. You can let me know in the chat. I just don't know what to think. The DC young adult fiction line has been something that I've heard different things about, but the continuity is all over the place. None of it's really connected, and some of it is really wonky. But then some of it appears to be, I guess, be selling well, and at least that's what we know anecdotally. I don't know how much of that information we really know. It's hard to say nowadays with DC keeping a lot of their sales under wraps, and then you got to go to BookScan, and you got to rely on Diamond, and that's increasingly unreliable because Warner's keeping a lot of their sales under wraps. Death, the deluxe edition by Neil Gaiman. This is I think I might be checking this out. Neil Gaiman has simply put a treasure house of story, and we are lucky to have him in any medium. And that's by Stephen King himself. The quote right on the cover there. It's Black Label. This it's 320 pages long. It's a hardcover, and it features Death, the High Cost of Living, and Death, the Time of Your Life, plus all of her other key appearances throughout the Sandman universe. 320 pages of goodness, people. It's worth checking out. And I think I might be picking this up because I got the first absolute edition of Sandman Volume 1, but I never got the volumes 2 to 4 of Sandman, but I've heard a lot about Death, and I've heard a lot of good things about Death. Say that in an open crowd. Okay. In any event, I'll be checking that out. Milestones in history. DC very clearly is really pushing the diversity of their heroes, and no more is that more true with respect to the Milestone universe. Jason and I routinely review DC Comics every week, and we're really enjoying the Milestone issues. To be blunt, the characters themselves are quite interesting. Static is an interesting comic. It's well written. Rocket, Icon and Rocket is a great series. It's my personal favorite. I love sort of the alternate history that they're playing with. It does take place in its own continuity. It doesn't take place in the mainstream DC universe. Then there's also the Hardware. These are good stories, and I think that if you want something different other than the traditional superhero comic DC superheroes, definitely check out the Milestone heroes. They've existed a long time, but the approach that's being taken with them now by various writers, it's really good, really good. Static Season 1, if you have, by all means pick it up. Batman Luke Fox. Interestingly enough, Batwing Luke Fox. I mean, per Luke Fox, relegated to Batwing. Everyone thought for the longest time that he was going to become Batman, the new Batman, but of course it was his brother Tim Fox, who for some reason insists on being called Jace Fox, who ends up becoming Batman. But this Batwing series is actually quite good. It's written by Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray, and it actually starts off with, it was related to Batman Incorporated, where the original Batwing was actually his base of operations was Africa, South Africa, I believe, and then ultimately that was a different character. Then Luke Fox took over the Batwing character back in Gotham City before this new Batman of Jace Fox took over. So again, it's really unfortunate that one of the things that DC has done is, and I hate to say this, but I want to be positive, but DC has not done a good job simplifying their universe. The whole DC omniverse about saying everything matters. Everything might matter, but everything still has to have a feeling of making sense and being able to be, at least if everything matters, then that's fine. But I can have a series of books where all the stories matter. But if I don't know where to go to find the books, if I'm disorganized in my storytelling and I can't find the books and they're hard to find, well, what's the point of having it? Then if I don't, there still has to be some semblance of a history there. And unfortunately, there just isn't with the DC universe right now. It's very wonky with its continuity, coming out of Future State, coming out of Death Metal, Future State. Is Future State even happening? It seems to be happening in some titles, not in others. Then we got We just got all kinds of wonkiness going on, and and I gotta say as well that in terms of publication, in terms of PR, DC needs better PR. They need a better spokesperson, or at least the spokesperson that they have. Who is that? Does DC have a spokesperson? I don't know. Uh, they have talented people, DC. They do. They just need to really seriously rework their public relations. At least advertise and try to have tell us fans what the game plan is, other than solicitations, which continue to show that continuity is apparently not a concern for you, and it continues to muddy the waters, and that's fine if the stories are good, but the stories are not even being consistent with stories that they're written alongside of. Chuck Brown, for example, his Black Manta is not particularly, it's not obviously consistent with Aquaman the Becoming. These connections aren't really there. The Wonder Woman universe is an absolute mess right now. Wonder Girl, Wonder Woman, these things aren't consistent. Nubia and the Amazons is really good, but there needs to be more consistency there moving into Trial of the Amazons. But again, I digress. A lot of this stuff here, Mr. Miracle, The Great Escape, again, these are outside the DC continuity universe. All the power to people who want to get those things. That's just not my cup of tea. Represent, I know, celebrating powerful voices. This is just, the whole point of this comic is for stories of personal experiences, unheard voices, and social revolution. Wow, I'm just not into that at all. I'm not in for social revolution right now. I want to escape. I don't need reminders of why my comic book characters should also be as controversial as most of the news figures, social media people want to be in real life. I'm not interested in this. This is an immediate turnoff. Immediate turnoff for me. Maybe younger readers will read this and want to run out and buy this. I look at this, I don't even pick it up on the shelf. I skip right by it, as I do here. Conjuring the Lover. Yeah, I'll be checking this out. I actually read the first few issues. Jason and I never really reviewed this because we sort of skipped over it, but the movie's quite good, and this is sort of like the prequel to it, and it's good too. So if you like horror, and if you like mixing your comic book horror with your comic book movies, this is actually one of those rare opportunities where you can do that. So do that. It gives you a little bit of backstory, and you can have a little fun with it. And maybe everyone loves a good scare, right? All right, Action Comics 1040. The only baffling thing about this, why is I don't understand why this cover exists for Action Comics 140. We're supposed to be talking about War World, and yet we get covers like this. This is a nice cover, but it's totally inappropriate. This is another one of those things where I hate to say it, but again, it comes down to editorial. I don't care what the contract says. I don't care what anything. You don't put a cover like this on a storyline. This is a cover B, so this is supposed to be the card stock that you're going to pay $1 more for a story that deals with War World, where Superman is battling for his life in an arena, and he's sitting there and he's arm wrestling Batman or the entire Justice League. I'm sorry, but it's this type of, this is a significant disconnect between the stories and everything else. This is the stuff that's always baffled me as a reader, and this was not a problem that existed 25, 30 years ago. And it was better then because you could look at the cover and have some idea what was going on inside the comic. I'm not a fan of cardstock covers. I'm not a fan of cover Bs. I'm a fan of one cover and that's it. And if that one cover is not good enough, you fire the cover artist and you find someone who's good enough. I mean, that's what you got to do. But I get it. That's the way the industry's gone. Blah, blah, blah. What do I know? Yada, yada, yada. And if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. Continuing on. Aquaman the Becoming. What is Aquaman becoming? The new Aquaman, I guess. Right? I don't know, but This cover is gorgeous. This cover is really good. Brandon Thomas is a good writer there. Brandon Thomas is usually pretty good at pacing and everything else, and he knows how to tell a good tale. And this cover art by David Talaski, this is really nice. This is pretty sharp stuff. Now, I'm not sure exactly where this is the final issue, and this leads directly into Aquaman #1 launch. Jackson Hyde races to stop the next big undersea terrorist attack, and this time Mera's the target. Clearly, the series there's a group of people. The bad guys are trying to set up Jackson Hyde as being a terrorist himself. So they basically created multiple false flag operations and an attack on Atlantis to try to blame Jackson Hyde. And so, obviously, I think the idea is to put into disrepute the reputation of Arthur Curry and Jackson Hyde and Mera, because Atlantis is no longer a monarchy; it is a democracy, and with the democracy comes the potential for corruption. But Mera and Arthur Curry and Jackson Hyde, because of their legacies, they do have a lot of influence on Atlantis, and so the terrorist organization that is trying to trying to take over Atlantis, I'm assuming is trying to attack the integrity and the reputation and ultimately kill off Arthur and Jackson Hyde and Mera and Jackson Hyde's mother, who is also quite a character in her own right. And there's Jackson Hyde's sister, who I think it's Melinda, who was introduced last issue, and she's the one with the spear at the bottom. So this is really an expansion of the Black Manta Jackson Hyde universe under the guise of expanding the Aquaman universe. But since Jackson Hyde is the new Aquaman, it's really the same thing. Aquaman Green Arrow Deep Target #5. I don't know why this particular series exists. It's really weird, but it's interesting. I mean, it's written by Chuck Brown and Brandon Thomas. Chuck Brown is the writer of Black Manta. Brandon Thomas is the writer of Aquaman the Becoming. And now, there's no indication that this series leads into that this series of Deep Target, this series leads into Aquaman. It's just really weird. Aquaman and Green Arrow switch places. Their histories, all of time is kind of screwed up, but only for Aquaman and Green Arrow, and we don't really know why. It's the oddest thing. But, maybe it'll lead somewhere. It's a very, very different type of plot point, out of sync with what's going on in the rest of the DC universe, which is why I'm just so surprised that it's another one of those things where the choices for these types of stories that are being told, I mean, it's not a bad story. I mean, the first 2 issues right now are interesting. It's just kind of odd. So this whole idea of the DC Omniverse where everything matters, well, yeah, everything matters. I just wish everything had a little bit more connectivity, more connective tissue. But, DC is maybe slowly getting there because they're still trying to put lipstick on the pig, coming out of Fear State and coming out of Future State. Future State was not a very good, it's clearly turning out to have been an albatross. And unfortunately, coming out of Future State, it's clear that DC kept a lot of the garbage of 5G, and it's not really bode well. But we got some positives coming out. I mean, I do think Yara Flora is an awesome character. Wonder Girl could be a better written comic book, but she's got potential. So Yara Flora and the younger heroes, John Kent, Damian, there's still potential here for these younger legacy heroes to step up to the plate. To what extent that's going to happen, we're just going to have to wait and see. Arkham City, The Order of the World. These are written by Dan Waters. This is actually art by Danny. It's good stuff. Again, alternative takes on Batman. I'm just going to leave that. I'm just going to go past this because it's good. I mean, it's, it's always good to have alternative Batman tales, but in any given month, we have at least 5 or 6 or 7 of them, and it's all well and good. By all means, I'm a DC purist. I like to see what Batman's doing in the mainstream DC universe, but hey, Batgirls #3. This title isn't for me. This is for teeny boppers. This is for a young crowd. This is Cassandra Cain and Stephanie Brown not taking life seriously. The characters not taking anything seriously. The art, you can tell by the art. I mean, what are they going after? A graffiti artist? Yay! How much fun! I'm sorry. This, to me, is not my Cassandra Cain. But hey, all the power to people who love this. I thought they were going to go after the Seer, which was sort of like the anti-Oracle. But now they're going after, they believe, a new street artist. Tudor is responsible for putting innocent Gothamites under a trance. Yeah, I'm not... All the power to the people that want to get this. This is the new direction. This is a younger generation for heroes. All the power to it. It's not my cup of tea. Batman v. Vigby, a wolf in Gotham. This is something that I'm enjoying. I wish there was a little bit more Fables lore into this than there is. I'm 3 issues into this, and I'm enjoying it. I'm a big fan of Will Willingham's Fables. I got all the issues and his Jack of Fables as well, and his Cinderella series, and his, I mean, all of it. I love it all. It's really good stuff. I kind of miss Mark Buckingham's art on this, but for whatever reason, it is a different artist. But Yannick Paquette, his cover art here is, it almost like he has almost like a Francavilla style here, but it's interesting. It's a little bit tropey and almost predictable, but basically it's a glorified book fair, and the fables, of course, gain their power because the more you believe in fables, the more powerful they are. And there isn't a more powerful fable than the big bad wolf, Bigby, the big bad wolf. And it's really cool that he's teaming up with Batman. It is 3 issues in. It's worth checking out. And the Batman villain Bookworm is just tailor-made to be the villain in a crossover between those two mythologies. Batman the Knight, #2, by Chip Zdarsky. This I'll be checking out. Bruce Wayne's journey toward becoming the Dark Knight has begun, and he's had many hard lessons to learn before his education is complete. His adventure begins in the City of Lights, Paris, where he'll train with a world-renowned cat burglar and come into contact with a horrifying serial killer stalking the city's wealthy elite. This is Chip Zdarsky's, he's sort of retelling, Batman learning the ropes, Batman the early years. I'm sure the cat thief or the burglar they're talking about is Catwoman or a young Selina Kyle. It's going to be interesting to see what Chip Zdarsky's interpretation is of that. These are the types of Batman stories that are always retold, but if they're retold in interesting ways, there's no reason why they can't be excellent. Chip Zdarsky's done a great job on Daredevil, and I really enjoyed his Red Hood story in Batman Urban Legends, so with the Teardrop storyline, so I'll be checking that out. Batman Urban Legends #12. Written by Vito Ayala, Mark Russell, Ram V, Mohal Mashigo. I got to tell you, Vito Ayala's been doing a fantastic job on Nubia and the Amazons. She's just been hitting it out of the park. Mark Russell, he's always good for a satirical take and some political commentary to try to get a smirk out of people. Sometimes, that mileage might vary depending on your particular sensitivities politically. Ram V's been hitting it out of the park, doing a great job on Catwoman. And, he's just been doing a really good job. And on Swamp Thing, I've been loving it. I'm not familiar with Mohale Mashigo, but we'll see what the storylines are in issue 12. Ace the Bat Hound is locked away. Batman and Zatanna pick up the pieces after a magical catastrophe. That might be interesting. I haven't seen Zatanna in a while. White Witch and Ghostmaker meet students of their sensei they never knew. That's interesting. So that's a spoiler. That kind of ruined it. I didn't know White Witch and Ghostmaker knew each other. That's interesting. White Witch was that sort of villain that tried to kill Catwoman in the pages of Catwoman, written by Ram V. So that's probably a Ram V story. In any event, Batman Catwoman #10. I've been, look, I've been a Tom King. I've really enjoyed what Tom King's been doing with Adam. I liked his Adam Strange. I loved his Rorschach. I liked his Mr. Miracle series, and I am enjoying his Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. I just, for the life of me though, I can't recommend Batman Catwoman #10. I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand why Catwoman is so fascinated with the Joker and is having drinks with the Joker around a Christmas tree every issue and getting drunk. Why doesn't she just sleep with Joker and get over it? I don't understand what's going on in this issue at all. And then we have, this is apparently some sort of crossover with the Phantasm. I watched the Phantasm cartoon, the Batman Mask of the Phantasm. I don't even see where the connections are with where he's trying to draw these connections. I don't get it. I've read the various issues multiple times. I find the best reason to get this. I continue to get it just for the covers. The covers are fantastic. I just don't find the story. I just don't find the story readable, and there's no indication in the transitions from past and present and future scenes. So artistically, and I really hate to say this, but artistically, I find it to be, Liam Sharp has had the same struggles of Mikel Janin, or on this title, in terms of trying to in terms of failing to transition between scene to scene very appropriately. And I apologize if it's not Mikel Janin. I think it's Mikel Janin is the other artist, but in any event, Clayman's the artist. I apologize. But Clayman is, he's a great artist, but it's not working. It's just not working for me. Black Manta #6. This is a story where Chuck Brown, he really needs to focus on telling a more coherent story. The art by Valentin Delandro is unfortunately only serviceable at best. The backgrounds are almost non-existent in some spots. It's very rushed, at least in the first 3 issues as we've read them. I'm not really sure this. We don't even know. There's a villain called Devil Ray. Devil Ray is a character that I don't think his name is mentioned in issue 3, but when we're first introduced to him, nobody says his name. We don't even know who it is. I actually thought it was Black Manta at first. Very confusing. The art doesn't distinguish between the characters well enough. Unfortunately, it's just not. It's a very, very difficult read to get into, and it's a little bit confusing, but there's some semblance of some mythology there, as I said, diving into the trying to connect black slave colonies to ancient Atlantis, and they're clearly trying to diversify the Aquaman universe, so it's not just a bunch of white underground Atlantis people, and in fact, a lot of ancient Atlanteans were black, so they're diversifying the cast, but they're doing it with a story that I think that the story has potential interest. It's just not being very coherently told. It's a little bit too incoherent, and it's not artistically and narratively, it just needs to be tightened up a bit. But again, a lot of potential. Hopefully, Brandon Thomas and Chuck Brown, if they're going to be co-writing Aquaman, that a lot of those things can be clarified. So moving forward, we have just a richer and a more understandable history of what Aquaman's new mythology is going to be with all these new cast of characters. Blue and Gold #7. Yeah, what can I say? It's Booster Gold. What's not to like about Booster Gold? Like, you're not, if you're reading this title, you're not reading this title because you're taking it seriously. Because you're supposed to have fun with it. And there's no better person to do that than Dan Jurgens. And Ryan Sook, fantastic artist. There's nothing to complain about here. I mean, I will say that the story by issue 3, I mean, I'm at issue 3, I think it's issue 4, it just came out. I think it's very, very slow going. I don't really know what the story is. So if I was to nitpick, I'd say this, I don't really know where the story is going, but it's played for laughs. And it's just trying to get some laughs out of you. I wish there was a little bit more of a direction that I'm feeling by issue 4, but I'm still sticking with it because I love Dan Jurgens and, Booster and Blue Beetle. And of course, we got the new Blue Beetle. It's always good to see him. So, well, I'll continue to check that out. Catwoman #40. Look at this cover. Boom. That's gorgeous. Who's that cover artist? Jeff DeCall. Wow. Very, very nice. Gorgeous cover. Wow. Yeah. Probably that's the cardstock, right? It's always the better cover is always the one that costs $1 more. But in any event, it's written by Tini Howard. Now, Tini Howard wrote a couple of things for Valiant Comics. She wrote something called the Vagrant Queen or something for Valiant Comics. I'm getting that wrong. Something Queen. Anyways, I really enjoyed it. I've heard mixed reviews about Tini Howard's work over at Marvel, and so, but I've not really paid much attention to her Marvel work because I don't really read much X-Men. I'm not a I mean, I wouldn't know where to begin to understand what's going on in the X-Men universe. I mean, I tried reading the Powers of X and House of X, and it was interesting. And then all of a sudden, it dives off into 12 different titles. It's like, is this really Marvel? Is this really how you're trying to get me to? So, anyways, I obviously stopped collecting all things X-Men, but we'll see. I'm actually trying to pick up the. I don't know. There's a I can't even remember what the hell it is. There's a couple. I want to finish up Jonathan Hickman's initial House of X and Powers of X story, and it's I can't remember the name of it. I'm in 2 issues into it, and it seems tolerable. But in any event, I digress. Dark Knights of Steel #4, man. I loved issue 1 on this. This was really good. Tom Taylor's issue 1, which I never had a chance to review. I had a death in the family, unfortunately, a couple weeks ago. My father passed away, and so Jace reviewed the first issue of this comic himself. But I really enjoyed it, and it actually has a father-son story, and the twist at the end was, I think, really interesting, and I'm really curious to see where this is going. The whole idea that Bruce Wayne is actually Bruce Wayne's father is actually Jor-El, who cheats on Laura, his wife, and that Superman and the Superman and Batman-esque characters in here are actually half brothers. And so the idea of Dark Knights of Steel, you can see the appropriateness of the name. And the arrival of the Elves by spaceship 19 years earlier was a pivotal moment, and the prophecy was born. What happened in those early years and what catastrophic event triggered everything that was to follow, because we know that Jor-El was ultimately, he establishes a kingdom, but he's ultimately killed with a kryptonite arrow through the eye, leaving his son, Kal-el, and, of course, Bruce, or I guess, I'm not even sure, I can't remember what Bruce Wayne's character is called here, Sir Bats or something, I don't know. That was a tough week when I read this. Everything I read that week went out the window when I had that tragedy. But in any event, I'll be rereading that. DC Horror presents Soul Plumber #5. This is a really sick, twisted story, and I've been enjoying it. It's just a guilty pleasure to read. It's psychedelic. It's crazy. Written by Marcus Parks and Henry Zabrowski. Art and cover by John McCree. I mean, John McCree, if you want sick and disgusting, man, that's the artist to get because he knows how to do it. And I say that as in my highest form and compliment. This is a really crazy. It deals with exorcism in a really crazy psychedelic way, and it's obviously not grounded in anything real. If you want an exorcism comic that is actually interesting and more real world, more of a real world take, I would check out Douglas Ernst's Soul Finder, which is really good. Deals with a demon Blackfire, and I would suggest that is a better story, but it's a very different type of story. But it's one to check out. Plus, you'd be supporting an independent writer. It's always good to support an independent writer as well. But this is more on the horror and the schizophrenic side. DC versus Vampires #5. I love this cover. Batman finally confronts Green Lantern. My God, a lot's been happening on this particular DC Vampires. I've read in through to issue 3 of it, and just for future solicits, and I get some preview copies. And let me just say that things really build to a head. This is a fun comic. James Tynion IV and Matthew Rosenberg are having a lot of fun here, and it shows that first issue. What happens with Jan of the Wonder Twins? That put a smile on my face like you wouldn't believe. Oh my God, to have the Wonder Twins, half of the Wonder Twins, be put into a blender by Green Lantern, and he drinks the Wonder Twin, and Jan tastes or Zan tastes watery. That was beautiful. That was a beautiful line. Absolute. This is a must. I'm trying to avoid reading a lot of the solicitations themselves. Deathstroke Incorporated number 6. Why does Deathstroke become a king here? In the latest issue 3, we're going to have the Cheetah being Queen Cheetah. I guess he overthrows Queen Cheetah. I'm not sure. Joshua Williamson, though, he's delving into a lot of different things in this particular series. And he's having a lot of it is ultimately going to take root, I think, with what the Justice League Incarnate and the future crisis that's going to take place in the summer of 2022. Because it's clear in my mind here that he's introduced a number of multiversal characters. He's in the pages of Deathstroke Incorporated. Joshua Williamson has introduced the Weird, and he's going to be introducing the character called Libra, who is the character that was actually represented the embodiment of the anti-life equation leading up to Final Crisis, written by Grant Morrison. So Libra character, that character is going to be returning. And of course, we have the Weirds already returned. And all these multiversal players that have played roles in past DC crises, some of them are appearing in the pages of Deathstroke Incorporated, which is very interesting. And I'm just throwing that out there, people, because none of that is revealed in this particular solicitation, but it actually happens in Deathstroke number 3, which will be coming out next week. Future State Gotham number 10. Straight up, this is not a comic book that's for me. Now, it's written by Dennis Culver. It was originally written by both Dennis Culver and Joshua Williamson. I'm not a fan of the manga style. I don't like the black and white. I'm not a fan of it at all. Now, in defense of Dennis Culver, I really thought that Dennis Culver's work in this Future State Gotham, I really thought early on was really, I didn't like it very much. But it got better. Like him and Joshua Williamson, they did put together a tale that if you were into Future State, it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I just felt I would have actually preferred to have seen it colored, not black and white. But I don't want to like badmouth it. Badmouth Future State Gotham number 10. It just wasn't my cup of tea. And the backups are always odd. They're reprinting stories that have already been printed elsewhere in DC. And it seems like they're just trying to pad the comic to get more money out of it. At least here, it's good to see that in Future State Gotham number 10, it's only $3.99. It's only 32 pages, which is good because, it just it shouldn't have be padded with extra stories like some of the earlier issues were. So, I'm not going to get it. I'm definitely not going to get it. It's not my cup of tea. It's black and white. And if that's the future of comics, bye-bye DC. Green Lantern number 11. Jeffrey Thorne here is doing his best to introduce some interesting new mythologies into the Green Lantern universe. He's really trying to prop up John Stewart. And I think he's doing a reasonably, I would say he's doing a serviceable job. However, it could be better because I find that he, much like Chuck Brown, he lacks a certain amount of ability for clarity in the storytelling in terms of what's going on and in the pacing. Fortunately for Jeffrey Thorne, he's gifted with much better artists than what Chuck Brown is gifted with in the pages of Black Manta. He's got Tom Rainey and Marco Santucci they're, again, it's a style of art that, again, it's not my cup of tea, but it does, at least you get some sense of what's going on in the story. Jeffrey Thorne has really worked with so many characters. I gotta give him some credit here because he works with so many members of the Green Lantern cast from of course John Stewart to Joe Mullein to Teen Lantern to Kyle Rayner to all the Owens, all the old gods, the new gods, Darkseid before he was Darkseid. I think it was it Lorne, the god of journeys? Anyways, lots of moving parts here, and we got an anti-Guardian coming up. Will John Stewart arrive in time to defeat the threat, and do his new powers even stand a chance? It looks like John Stewart is a living embodiment of a Guardian. Back in the Green Lantern Mosaic series from over 20 years ago, he was the first human Guardian. And it looks like that power, that legacy is now going to be returned to him. Very interesting. Harley Quinn number 12. This is Stephanie Phillips here. One of the I've been enjoying her Harley Quinn. I think that she brings a sense of humor to Harley that was missing in some of her prior stories before this new series began. I think this was hampered down a little bit because of Fear State, but I like the supporting cast. I like Kevin, the backup, sort of like the sidekick that Stephanie Phillips has given Harley. I like this. I mean, the cover says it all here. Riley Rosmo's art. It's very stylistic. I know it's not for everybody, but I think it actually works here for this new stylized version of Harley. And I think actually I'm going to predict that this is going to be considered one of the more classic takes on Harley moving into the future. And because I do think this is underappreciated. And anyways, I've been enjoying it. To me, it's a guilty pleasure to read. Harley Quinn, the animated series, Eat, Bang, Kill Tour number 6. This is a comic book that if you're not getting, I think people are crazy. This series on HBO Max, or is it the DC app? Whatever, I don't know. It's controversial. It's always, I think it's very provocative. It's sexual. It's very female focused in many ways, and it's fun. And of course, now that we got Vixen and Zatanna, adding that to the mix along with Livewire, this is a must. And it's going to be interesting. I don't recall seeing Livewire on the series, but I'm behind in my episodes of Harley Quinn, so the animated series. The Human Target number 5. Tom King, having read the first 2 issues of The Human Target, certainly I've read the first issue. This is a really good series. Somebody tried to assassinate Lex Luthor, but of course they ended up, the Human Target himself ends up being the one who ends up being killed, but killed very slowly. He's got 12 days to live, and he's got 12 days to solve his murder. 12 days to solve his murder. And this feels like a genuine crime novel. And it even artistically, the art by Greg Smallwood is excellent. And it feels like you're reading a pulp novel and the style of art is very pulpy as well. It's really good. And I'm gonna tell you right now that yes, from issue 1 that the lead character is the Human Target is likely going to die in 12 days. That's not a mystery. What is interesting is that it's a member of the original Justice League International is likely responsible for being the murderer. So I guess if you really don't like Tom King, you can criticize him by saying, "Oh, he's going to stain the reputation of another DC character," or you can have fun with it and say, "Look, this is going to be a good story." There's the women here are gorgeous, they're sexy. There's a great issue with Frost, and she's just amazing. This is I think that even if you're not a Tom King fan and you have all those traditional criticisms, guys, give this a chance. Pick up the opening issue here and, trust me on this. I think you'll have fun with this. I really think you'll enjoy this. If you don't enjoy it after the first issue, then obviously stop, but I think you'll enjoy it. All right. Justice League. This pretty much embodies my perspective on Justice League 73. This is a blank cover, and naturally it has Naomi on it, and only Naomi on it. I don't get this. I've never I've been baffled by what Brian Bendis is trying to do to Justice League. I don't know what's going on. I'm probably one of the very few people that tries to maintain some sense of decor and diplomacy when I talk about Bendis' Justice League, but he's trying to connect it to his checkmate, and unfortunately he's connecting this with maybe his Naomi series as well. That's not a good thing. This is Lords of Chaos Part 2. The Justice League and Justice League Dark team up to navigate the remade world of chaos. All the heroes must come together to save what's left of the world they have dedicated their lives to protecting, but Dr. Fate has gone bad. Oh no, he has. This covers is just, I think this cover is ridiculous. Is this a joke? Justice League 73. I'm hoping this is a joke, that it has some trade dress on it, because I'm just hoping this is a joke. My God, somebody at DC's really got to, get with the program here and understand that if you're trying to put your best foot forward on these new characters, I mean, Naomi is a great character. Bendis did a good job with the Naomi series. Okay, he did really good. He's absolutely done a less than serviceable job on Checkmate and with Leviathan and with Justice League. But Naomi is one of those shining lights. But you got to pump up, get out her series already. Volume 2 of her series, bring it out already. What are you waiting for? I mean, because look, you're not doing Naomi any favors by the way she's being characterized in Justice League. She's kind of a joke. She's yappy. She's talky. She's kind of annoying, to be blunt. And even had her parents thrown in there. That did not go over well. You got to have her in her own comic. You just got to get her out of the Justice League. You really, really do. She shouldn't be a member anyway. Why would you put Naomi? Who in their right mind would put a kid on the Justice League team? Come on. And Naomi? Again, it's one of those things that is so obviously forced, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And I don't think it serves the character, especially when she walks around bumbling and talking like an idiot and always expressing surprise at what happens. Like, really? Why are you surprised? You're a member of the Justice League. We're being attacked. It happens. If this is a surprise to you, go back to school. Anyways, rant done on that. All right, Justice League Incarnate number 4. Dr. Universe, it's good to have this. This is a fantastic cover by Gary Frank. Justice League Incarnate number 4. Dr. Universe is somebody that can apparently has she's going to be in Justice League Incarnate. Dr. Multiverse discovers there is a threat greater than Darkseid. Well, that's all I'm going to read about the solicit. Let me just say this. We know that there's going to be multiple threats. We already know there are multiple threats from Infinite Frontier, issues 1 through 6. Dr. Multiverse, what she brings to the table is her own power and her own abilities to sort of navigate between the various multiverses. And Dr. Multiverse here, she's got one thing in common with Darkseid. And the one thing she has in common with Darkseid is that there's only one version of her in all the multiverse. Just like there's only one version of Darkseid because he unified all the aspects of himself and all the Earths. There's only one Dr. Multiverse, just like there's only one Darkseid. So she's as unique as Darkseid is, but fortunately she's on the side of the good guys, so that's good. So yeah, I want to avoid reading the whole thing here. Justice League versus Legion of Superheroes. Now, there are so many jokes that I could tell right now. I mean, has anybody been talking about Gold Lantern? Anybody? Anybody at all? I think I'm hearing crickets. Yeah, nobody is talking about this particular title, and I don't think that's really much of a surprise, is it? No clap, no horn, no nothing, ding. Yeah, nothing. No. Any applause? Oh, we got a little bit of an applause. Okay, but yeah, I don't really understand why we end up with this Gold Lantern. Justice League is written by Brian Bendis. Legion of Superheroes, of course, was written by Brian Bendis. Now he's allowed to do a story where the two fight each other. My prediction is that they're not actually going to fight each other. They're going to argue with each other, because by the time they're done talking to each other, they're going to be so exhausted from talking to each other, there's not even going to be a fight. That's my prediction. That's how cynical I am about this series. And it's the Gold Lantern saga. So if it's the Gold Lantern saga, why is it called Justice League versus the Legion of Superheroes? Anyways, look, I am interested in this. I am. Don't get me wrong. I am curious to know. Unfortunately, the reason why I'm really worried about it is Brian Bendis he's not had a single good idea since he's come to DC. Everything he's done has been a disaster. Everything. Straight up. The aging up of John Kent has been an abject disaster. Rogolzar has been a joke. Legion of Superheroes has been a joke. Superman has been awful. Philip Kennedy Johnson is doing a really good job putting lipstick on the pig. That was the Bendis story. Philip Kennedy Johnson, that guy should get an award. He's doing a really good job in the war world. Thank you, Philip Kennedy Johnson. But that is in spite of what he had to work with when he came to DC. And look, this Gold Lantern, why do we need a Gold Lantern? Why would we want a Gold Lantern in the future anyway? Why wouldn't we want Green Lanterns in the future? Again, dumb idea. I don't like the idea. I like the idea of the Great Darkness, so I'm going to be willing to check that out, and we'll see where it goes. And the only other reason, if I'm brutally honest, the only reason why I'm hoping that I would like Saturn Girl to come back and sleep with John Kent to straighten him out. See what I did there? I mean, why can't he? I mean, he's bi. I mean, he can be straightened. If he can be bi, he can be straightened. Or he can keep making the choice to be straight. Anyways, I'm a Saturn Girl fan. Would anybody choose Jay Nakamura over Saturn Girl? Come on. Good grief. Go blonde over pink hair any day. Anyways, Nightwing 89. Tom Taylor, of course, is writing Nightwing and Superman, son of Kal-el. Tom Taylor's doing a really good job on Nightwing, despite the hiccup with Fear State. So I'm certainly gonna stick with him for the long run there. And look, if we're talking about, Nightwing was asked by Kal-el, was asked by Superman, the real Superman, to keep an eye on, to keep an eye on his son John Kent, and if he needs any help, give him advice every now and then. So it's good to see that we're gonna have an issue where Superboy, because that's who John Kent is, he's really just Superboy, where Superboy is going to be asking Nightwing for some advice. At some point, this is the narrative miss that the DC had. I agree with my fellow viewer Jace that John Kent has not earned his Superman mantle. This is one thing that DC editorial, in their desperation to turn and shock value tactics to, rather than focus on organically developing a good story where he earns the mantle of Superman, they just right away assumed he was Superman. They not only aged him up from a child to a Superboy, but now they've decided to give him the mantle of a Superman when he's still a Superboy. Absolute stupidity across the board. Now, I want to be clear. Tom Taylor's a great writer. If anybody can organically build up this John Kent into a Superman, he's the guy. But how can you do that when the title already assumes he's Superman? He's not. He's not. He's a Superboy. He's a Superboy who just found out that he likes other boys. So does that sound like a Superman to you? No, he's not a Superman. He's a Superboy. And he's still dealing with the trauma of being in a volcano for 7 years, trapped by Ultraman. This is something that needs to be addressed. Unfortunately, until it is, John Kent as a character will never be recognized as Superman, and it doesn't matter what it says on the title to his comic book. That, unfortunately, is the reality that DC has, and it doesn't change just because you insist that he's Superman. He's not. He's Superboy. He's Superboy. John Kent is Superboy. It's Superboy, son of Kal-el. They need to change the title. If they change the title, I actually think it would sell more, to be honest with you. Not that it's selling bad now, but it's only selling really good now because of shock value tactics, because let's focus on our character's sexuality as opposed to the quality of the character as actually doing something constructive or useful. In any event, why didn't anybody talk about this when John Kent kissed Saturn Girl? Now that is something that deserved more media. Anyways, you can tell I'm biased. Okay, Nightwing 89. Yeah, whatever. Nubia and the Amazons, number 5. Oh my god, I absolutely love Medusa. I loved her. I loved Medusa as a villain to Wonder Woman back in the Greg Rucka, classic Greg Rucka run back in 2000, what is it? 2008, 2009, whatever it was. Fantastic. Great to see Nubia here. Vita Ayala, Vita Ayala, yes, and Stephanie Williams have done a great job with Nubia and the Amazons. It's my favorite Wonder Woman mythology title. It's just fantastic. So many rich new characters. This is the way to build a mythology and to really do something special with it. I'm really liking this, and it's great to see Medusa being back. And it's really interesting to see how this is going to end up, how it's going to play out. It's interesting here that part of the solicits it says that will Nubia deliver the killing blow or show mercy to Medusa, who is a woman scorned by man's world? Because of course we know that Medusa, of course, her tale in mythology, she definitely got screwed over by the gods, the male gods. So can Medusa find redemption and be asked to join? And can the curse on Medusa be removed and have her join the Amazons as an active, proactive member? We shall see. That would definitely be an interesting take. Personally, I would like to see Medusa remain a villain, but that's just me. One thing about Wonder Woman villains, and it appears that maybe it's the same for Nubia's, is that a lot of the villains in Wonder Woman are broken. They're broken. They're usually women, and they're broken in some way, and they require some type of redemption and forgiveness. But personally, I like Medusa just being hard ass and bad. One Star Squadron, written by Mark Russell. I'm not really sure what this is. I haven't read the first issue yet. I've got no idea what's on here. It. I'm assuming it's going to be comedic in some way. I guess I will check out the first issue to see if I like it. It's about a group of money-hungry investors willing to do just about anything to turn a profit, and that could mean the end of heroes for you. So, yeah, it seems a little bit odd. I'm probably not going to be. We'll see. I'll check it out. I'll read anything once. Pennyworth number 7. I've been enjoying this series. If I've been enjoying the TV series, I've been enjoying that. And this comic book series actually adds some gravitas to it. It adds, the stories are very well done. Kudos to Scott Bryan Wilson and the art by Jone Gideon. I'm not sure if that's the same artist that's been on every issue, but the art's been it's been decent. It's been hasn't been exceptional, but it's been decent enough that I've been enjoying the series. And this is a great cover art here. Somebody is from Pennyworth's past has been terrorizing him in the present, and the series essentially consists of a series of flashbacks to when Pennyworth was younger, and then flash forward to the present where he's fighting the villain who undoubtedly is linked to the villain in the flashback. So it's pretty good. Refrigerator Full of Heads. Written by Rio Yowers, art by Tom Fowler. I enjoyed this series. This was Refrigerator Full of Heads was my favorite Black Label Joe Hill comic. This is a Viking axe that is cursed, that whenever it's used to chop off a head, the heads stay alive and stay alive forever. And this is a very this series, Refrigerator Full of Heads, because as you can imagine, after Basket Full of Heads, the basket is kind of full, so you need something bigger than a basket. You need a refrigerator. I don't know if that's the logic, but there is a refrigerator in this series, and it does at some point be filled with heads. And it's interesting that the mythology and the origin and the characters, the main character in the first series plays a significant role, at least in the early issues that I've read so far, in Refrigerator Full of Heads. And I like how it's building on the continuity and the story. And so, not that you need to know that. You don't need to read the first series to appreciate this. But if you've read that first series of Basket Full of Heads, you're really going to be rewarded reading Refrigerator Full of Heads. You'll enjoy it. Robin number 11. This is a fun series. Again, I gave compliments before to Joshua Williamson. Robin is a lot of fun. Flatline, Ravager, the whole gang, even Respawn, who was kind of a joke of a character, a play on Deadpool and Deathstroke. This is a fun series, and it's actually, I think this is the type of fun series that I think a lot of people were expecting maybe Teen Titans Academy to be. But this is just a lot of fun. This is, in my view, this has captured the fun and the excitement of what a young Teen Titans ought to be. This is a lot of fun, and probably one of DC's, I don't know if it's one of their best sellers, but I think it's probably one of their better sellers, and I think it's probably one of their better titles too. I'm not like head over heels for this. I prefer Flash and Suicide Squad and Swamp Thing, but I have to give credit to Joshua Williamson, man. He's doing a good job on this. This is a fun comic. Robin's number 4. This is a series that, I will be avoiding like the plague. We need another Robin like we need a hole in the head. I'm not interested in it. And it's as simple as that. Now, the thing is, I'm going to be reviewing this because I pretty much have to. I review Comics with Jace every week. So I'll be reviewing it. And look, I will eat my words because I've done that before. If I read this and, oh my God, I love this, great. I read the first issue and I was 100% turned off. I got no interest in another Robin, some female white Robin with too much mascara around her eyes, claiming to be the first Robin. It's such a cliche. It's so tropey. I just have no desire. I was immediately turned off by the first issue. This was a round Robin win. This just cries editorial mandate nonsense. Whatever you want to, I'll just stop talking because I'll just say something to get myself into trouble. I'm avoiding the. I'm not a fan of this. Again, I'll read issue 2, 3, 4. I'm going to be reading the issues and reviewing them, and I'm going to try to keep my, if it's a good, I'll give it some credit, but, I'm not going to hold my breath. Scooby-Doo, where are you, number 14? I don't read Scooby-Doo. Suicide Squad, number 12. This is a must for me. Robbie Thompson's been doing a great job. Eduardo Fonseca and Julia Ferrara on the art. Fantastic. This is just, apparently this issue takes place on Earth 8. The fact of the matter is Amanda Waller is building things up in order to get people, in order to protect Earth 3. She wants to basically make Earth 3 sort of cut off from the rest of the multiverse for whatever reason. And we know from Future Stage that she wants to make Connor Kent, or her new sort of Superboy, the new Superman of Earth 3, which is very interesting. At some point along the way, they're going to have to take out the crime syndicate because we know in Future State Suicide Squad that the crime syndicate was actually killed or taken off the table. They were in sort of stasis tubes. So we also know that Amanda Waller, there's another Amanda Waller in Earth 3 that she has to take off the playing field. And we also know that Rick Flag is trying to dethrone her and take her on. And Peacemaker is no longer under the influence of the bomb in his head because the Swamp Thing took that out. So we have at least 3 different players. We got Rick Flag's Suicide Squad. We got Amanda Waller's 2 different Suicide Squad, the Hell Squad and her own squad. And then we got Peacemaker on the loose. And then we got, on Earth 3, we got the crime syndicate, Ultraman, who wants a piece of Amanda Waller. So there's a lot of moving pieces here that Robbie Thompson has in play. And then to top it off, of course, we got Ambush Bug, who's always breaking the fourth wall. So fans of Deadpool might get a kick out of that. So again, one of my favorite titles of DC right now. Suicide Squad King Shark number 6. The Defacer is befriends King Shark at the beginning, and King Shark has to win this tournament where he's fighting a lot of anthropomorphic versions of different animals, and it's really crazy, but it's kind of fun. Tim Seeley here, art by Scott Collins. Art is it's detailed enough. It's detailed enough. There's a lot of fun here. There's a lot of action. Tim Seeley, I'm really enjoying his, I'm pleasantly surprised by his work on Superman versus Lobo. I think that's quite funny. I think Tim Seeley has some good humor moments here. I think Tim Seeley lately has been managed to tickle my funny bone because I think he's done a good job overall. And this is actually a better story. I was not expecting to enjoy Suicide Squad King Shark. I wasn't expecting to enjoy this series, but I am. This is just plain a lot of fun. I'm loving Suicide Squad. DC's Suicide Squad output between King Shark, between their main Suicide Squad series, between their Black Label Suicide Squad series. I'm really loving what DC's doing as Suicide Squad, and I love the movie. I just love the concept, and And DC's keeping this, in my view, relatively fresh and fun reads. And hey, man, what's not to love? Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, number 8. I believe this is the final issue. Krem's fate is finally revealed, and I've been for the most part absolutely loving. I love the first 4 issues. I thought issue 5 strayed from the consistency of the first 4 issues. Number 5 was redundant and an unnecessary issue, but I really liked the themes and the human element, how it's progressing. The character work of Kara in particular is just absolutely, I think, fantastic. I think Tom King's doing a great job. I know Ruthie, the other character. This is sort of the story is premised loosely on a True Grit sort of storyline. This is better than True Grit was. I mean, True Grit was probably one of the most one-dimensional movies, westerns of all time, as most westerns are. But this one has a lot more gravitas story. This Tom King has taken the True Grit template, and he's made it work for Kara in just a brilliant fashion, and it's topped off by Bill Chris Everly's fantastic art. This is a no-brainer for me. I already know that the ultimate battle between Kara and Krem of Yellow Hills being the villain who killed Ruthie's father in issue 1, and ultimately almost killed Crypto, her dog, as she was somewhat getting drunk on her 21st birthday. This was a really good story, and frankly, I haven't enjoyed a Supergirl story like this. I'd have to go back to Peter David's run, the last time I enjoyed a Supergirl story as much as this. All right, Superman, Son of Kal-el, number 8. Yeah, I guess building on these legacy characters again. I'm not really sure. Henry Bendix's plan for ultimate control threatens every superhero on Earth, and trying to stand against the dictator of Gomorrah, Superman makes himself a target of business and world leaders. He is seen by too many as a force that must be stopped. How much can even a Man of Steel stand against before he bends? Well, again, he's not a man yet. He's a boy. I hate to say it, but he's a boy. And these are just not the type. This isn't the approach to this story is just wrong-headed. However, it's not a badly written story. I've been generally very favorable to what Tom Taylor's doing. Tom Taylor was told, we don't care if he's a boy. You're writing him as a man. We're going to call him Superman, even though he isn't. And so we have no choice. Even on this cover, he doesn't look like a man. Jackson Hyde looks like a teenager. John Kent looks like a teenager. They don't look like, they look like young men, but they look on the cusp of adulthood, not quite there. But apparently they're both taking over the legacies of Aquaman and Superman. This is a risk, DC. This is a risk. It didn't work for Marvel at all. Will it work for you? I guess we'll see. I guess it'll all come down to the story. However, even if the story is good, one story does not make a boy a man. It just doesn't. Not in comic books. You need to organically build that character up. But it's nice to see Superboy here. He's going to be fighting. By issue 8, he's still going to be fighting Henry Bendix, the leader of Gomorrah. He's still going to be pissing off world leaders. Well, that's fine. Superboy, because he's still a boy. Superboy, John Kent, will learn the lesson that his father probably learned much quicker than he did, and that is, you're not a dictator yourself. You can't dictate the state of world affairs. And while you can be an example of how to treat people, you're not going to be that example if you're dictating to nations how they're supposed to govern. And so it's going to be very interesting how Tom Taylor does this. I don't mind the politics in this. The international politics, the geopolitics is very interesting. I like the fact that he's diving into it because I don't expect John Kent, a mere boy, to be smart. I expect him to make mistakes and do stupid things. And he's clearly doing stupid things in this series. That's what I expect. And I expect him to learn hard lessons from that as he grows into one day being a man. He's a Superboy. Perhaps one day he'll be a Superman. Fingers are crossed. But my breath will not be held. Okay, so Swamp Thing, Green Hill #2. That's a no-brainer. John Constantine. I mean, absolutely. Written by Jeff Lemire. I'm in. That's all I need to know. Task Force Z #5. Awesome cover. Flipping the coin. I note that coin isn't scarred. Be checking that out. Teen Titans Academy #12. I don't know exactly where this is. Teen Titans 12 is going to go. I think Tim Sheridan, this is a series that needs to wrap up its Red X storyline real quick. Nobody's talking about Red X. It's not been a compelling mystery. It's not been a compelling story. Nobody is talking about it. I know of nobody who's talking about it at the comic shop, in the comic book community. This is a dead storyline about a dead character. Nobody seems to care. It just didn't resonate very well at all. And it didn't help that the writing has been very confusing. It's involved new characters that we don't know these characters well enough to really get invested in them. Even though the stories that have come out, Tim Sheridan hasn't done that bad a job, don't get me wrong, but we just need more time to develop and get to know these characters. I can definitely tell he's used to maybe working in animation, because a lot of this maybe you could get away with in a quick episode with animation. But for this type of storytelling, no, you need more organic development. You need more origins for these characters. I'm constantly wondering who this character is, who that character is. I got to remind myself of the characters' names. I would love to have a page that has all their heads with their names on it. But none of that's for this story. And it's so sad. Of all the titles that suffered the most in Future State, Teen Titans Academy was the one that by far suffered the most, and unfortunately really continues to suffer. And I don't know, is this a black and white cover, or maybe it's yet to be colored? But in any event, hopefully we'll get rid of Red X, as we'll get rid of that character, and we'll just get Teen Titans Academy. We'll just get something called DC Academy, have Gotham Academy back and Teen Titans Academy, and have them go together or something. I don't know. I would prefer that than this, because it's not working. Thank God we got Titans United, and we got Robins to give us our teenager fix for superhero teenagers. Scooby-Doo Mysteries, no thanks. The Flash 779. Oh man, this is awesome. Jeremy Adams has been doing a great job. Art by Fernando Pasarin, Matt Ryan. Eclipso coming back. Flash fighting him. The next issue of Flash is him with Dr. Fate. That's a great issue that sort of breaks the fourth wall. You guys can be checking that out in our review next week. And in any event, this is a no-brainer for me. Jeremy Adams has done such a fantastic job. Wally West is back. He's filled with hope. He's filled with power. He's got a sense of humor. His kids are back. This is fun. This is DC fun. And I got to tell you, it's probably a tie for the amount of fun that's occurring between Robin and the Flash. Those are two fun titles. And even the fun and zaniness of Suicide Squad. A lot to point to be positive about between those three titles for sure. Joker #12. Finally, the story wraps up. People have been bitching about James Tynion's Joker as having no Joker in it. I don't care. I love it. I love the focus on Jim Gordon. I admit, not a heck of a lot of Joker, but there is a lot of Joker if you realize that the entire motivations of all the characters in the story are directly influenced or indirectly influenced by the Joker. And it's just a great series. And what a way to go out with such a fantastic cover by Giuseppe Camuncoli and Cam Smith. Joker presents a puzzle box #7. This is a digital only, written by Matthew Rosenberg. I've not been reading this, so I don't know if it's any good. But I'll probably at some point when I have time check it out. Titans United #6. I've been loving this. Blackfire and Starfire. Two gorgeous women fighting. I mean, look. They're not fighting in mud, which is unfortunate because that would be really cool, but they're fighting with fire. So, hey, that's fun too. But yeah, that's a no-brainer for me. Blackfire victorious. Earth has fallen to the Queen of the Tamaranians. God, I just love the premise of this story. I got to tell you, man, written by Kevin Scott, my friend, you've got my interest. I've been absolutely enjoying your Titans Titans United, and I by the looks of things, I'm going to continue to do so. Wonder Woman 784. Cover by Terry Dodson and Rachel Dodson. Interesting. I find it funny that how many covers have Rachel Dodson and Terry Dodson done for Wonder Woman? They've done a lot. And it's always interesting and good to see them do another cover. I just, personally, I wish that we would get a little bit more variety, but that's just me. But hey, man, there's no denying fantastic cover, man. Kudos to Terry Dodson and Rachel Dodson. I have not been a big fan. I don't really know what Becky Cloonan and Michael W. Conrad have been doing with Wonder Woman here. I've been reviewing it every week. I'm not a big fan of the direction they're taking the character. She's supposed to be looking for the lurking threat. She should be part of the Justice League Incarnate. That's what she should be doing. She should be on the Justice League Totality Satellite looking for the lurking threat. That is why she came back. That was her new mission, and it was fairly obvious, and it was explicitly stated. So for her to come back and in the latest issue be more concerned about returning a sword to a dead lover is, I think, really pathetic and a complete squandering and ignoring of the obvious direction of where the narrative should be going. Not a big fan of the dead man being in there. Now we're going to be getting the Shining Knight. I guess an image maker now. I don't know. The backup story is the most interesting here because there's a plot to overthrow the Themyscirans, and Queen Faruka II plans to resume her rightful place among the Amazons. Queen Faruka being the queen of the Bana Magnol tribe, where that Artemis is part of. And of course, there's the third tribe of Amazons, the Brazilian tribe of Amazons, that Yara Flora is part of. That is by far the more important story that's going on. And yet, in the mainstream Wonder Woman main story, we've got a story that really appears to have nothing to do with the actual trial of the Amazons. And it's just so sad to see. So sad to see. I'm just not interested in the main story of Wonder Woman. I'm sorry. I mean, I'll continue to read it, but we'll see. Wonder Woman Evolution number 4. Wonder Woman is going to be has to defend the human race. Stephanie Phillips. The first issue, I didn't know what the first issue, the point of it was. It didn't even set up the story, quite frankly. We literally, it was just Wonder Woman battling against Silver Swan, having a discussion with Superman in the Himalayan mountains, and then being plucked away and mysteriously disappearing. And we know she'll appear in the second issue where the actual story itself is going to start. Why? I don't know why it started that way. Mike Hawthorne's art I think is serviceable. And I have to say, looking at this cover, it's at best serviceable again. I'm leery about this, but I love Stephanie Phillips. I like the premise here. How is Wonder Woman going to defend humanity? I don't think she did a very great job. It was Superman that defended humanity in issue 1 of Evolution. It wasn't Wonder Woman. She's very cynical. So Stephanie Phillips, I think part of the narrative journey that she's going to put Wonder Woman on is to discover what happens as they move forward, as Wonder Woman moves forward, and Wonder Woman's going to have to find an argument to make to defend humanity. Otherwise, we are all doomed. All right. World of Krypton number 3. This actually looks pretty good. Kara's parents, apparently they're going to make Kara's mother black, I guess. Is that young Kara with crypto? I think that is. So, I don't know. That's interesting. Kara's mother is going to be a black Kryptonian. And her dad has a very odd-looking haircut, but, so we're going to... This is the increasing movement to diversify the cast of, why not? Beautifully drawn. That cover is absolutely gorgeous. Art by Michael Van Oming. The cover by Miko Suwon. Great. The interior art's by Michael Van Oming. I'm definitely probably not gonna like the interior art. His work on Midnighter was not good. He's not suited for a DC Universe superhero drawing, Michael Van Oming, but I'll certainly check it out because I'm a fan of Superman. And if we're going to get some World of Krypton, I'll be checking that out. Um, the Absolute Multiversity, Absolute hardcover. I already have a Multiversity hardcover, and it has all the story in it. The only thing this has that's different is it has all the director's cut editions of all of the issues. And I don't know if I need the director's cut editions of all the issues because it's just Grant Morrison's script. So I don't know why I would need that. Having said that, Grant Morrison's script, knowing what Grant Morrison's ideas are for Multiversity, I think might show some clues because it might be a Bible for future writers. But unfortunately, it's quite obvious that, certainly current day writers, other than Joshua Williamson, there's no present DC writer that really is paying any attention to what Multiversity is or the multiverse in general. I think Jeremy Adams is showing some respect for it. And Joshua Williamson certainly is, as he's still handling toward the Future Crisis. But beyond that, I don't see anybody really, any other writer at DC right now. I can't think of one that's actually has any sort of nostalgic feeling toward the past of DC. And DC editorials doesn't really seem to care too much about maintaining the integrity of Multiversity, because in fact, in the recent issue of I forget what it was that I think it was, there was a reference to Earth 4023 or something in a recent DC comic. So they're not even respecting the 52 Earths idea, where there's 52 Earths in each multiverse and then different multiverses. So they're just bastardizing the multiverse. And I just find it disingenuous that they're putting out this Absolute edition when it's clear that they're not respecting it anyway. And it just sort of makes me shake my head. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Joshua Williamson tightens everything up going into the summer of 2022. But there's no reason to get the deviations from Multiversity that we've been getting before then. There's just really no excuse for it. And it just shows editorial malfeasance as far as I'm concerned. But Challenge of the Super Sons, of course. What's not love about Super Sons? Gotham City Omnibus. Guys, if you've not read Gotham City, great series written by Ed Brubaker, Greg Rucka, Michael Lark. Before Ed Brubaker went, those of you who know Ed Brubaker, he's written all these great criminal series and all what have you. Great series. He's doing his own work right now. Greg Rucka is also doing his own work with he's did his the Tomorrow series. I'm drawing a blank on Greg Rucka all of a sudden. Can you believe this? What's the character? Forever Young. That's the character's name. And what am I, doesn't matter. Anyways, I'll kick myself later. But Ed Brubaker, Greg Rucka, Gotham Central, great omnibus. I might have to pick that up, but we'll see. Hellblazer, Rise and Fall, hilarious series. I read it, fun, written by Tom Taylor. Tom Taylor understands Taylor. Tom Taylor understands John Constantine, and it shows in this series. It's a lot of fun, and just a gorgeous cover there, drawn by Derek Robertson. And more volumes. I'm going to, it's funny, more Legion of Superheroes. 5 years later, omnibus, yes. Unfortunately, the Legion of Superheroes, there's no relationship, there's no connection from Brian Bendis' Legion of Superheroes to what came before. There virtually is there's very little connective tissue there, so it's kind of a waste of time to even bother reading this. If you want to read good stories, then you want to read this, because this is actually stories where there isn't just a bunch of talking heads and there's actually action and adventure. Then check out this omnibus. But New Gods Omnibus, yeah, there's more. New Teen Titans. I'm going to stop there. Dennis O'Neill, the question. There's great stuff here, guys. But you can, that basically sums that up. I know this went a lot longer than I had anticipated. Wow, almost 2 hours. But, wow, is what it is. Guys, tell me what you, share your thoughts on some of this stuff. I know there's so much stuff that have happened at, so much going on at DC right now. It's just crazy. But I thought I'd share my thoughts. I was a little bit bored this Sunday. And, yeah, thanks for listening. And Until next time, guys, Comic Boom out.